haven't actually started yet. I thought I did more actually, but no, I've been busy lately, so I haven't really had time to program, of course. So that's why I haven't been streaming. But today I have an opportunity, so we're gonna get more done today. We're gonna continue where we left off, and we left off working on the it's Plasticky. Hi, Plasticky. Good morning. It's not morning, but good morning. Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I hope you're doing fantastic too. Oh, thank you. Love, 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 love. Okay. Hi, Amy. Nice to see you today. Is this game your personal project? Yes, this is a personal project. I don't think a lot of folks will be able to stream like a company's game project. Usually they're behind like NDAs or something, right? But yeah, this is my own personal game that I've been working on for the last 3 years. Alright, so we left off working on the thief abilities. Our objective is to convert every ability to also be usable by monsters. So we're just going to continue down the list. It's pretty much clockwork at this point. We've converted about 8 abilities. So we kind of know how this works at this point. So we're just going to continue on our way. So this next ability is called the Deadly Dash. And it's kind of an interesting one because what happens is first the user kind of blinks. Like it's a little effect and it's like a charge up. And then after a brief moment in time, wherever the attack is aimed at, the user will basically dash entirely through in a straight line, hitting anything in its path. So it's a very interesting little effect that is going to be really cool to implement. Do you also work for your company? No, I'm currently unemployed. I'm just taking a break from work. Essentially, I accrued enough savings to take some time off and enjoying life. That's all. And I get to work on this game a little bit. But I don't make games. I don't like this project isn't like a source of income. This is just for fun. Like, yes, it will cost money to purchase the full game, but it's not a source of income I could rely on. Like, I think it's pretty naive to assume that a solo developer can rely on a game selling well, especially in this day and age. I think that's putting your expectations too high, especially for a first release. Just catching a break from work and working on a personal project. Cool. Yeah, same boat here. Just able to take a little break and enjoy life. So that's awesome. So yeah, this, let's see here. So the first thing we do is, I don't know why this isn't indented, right? But we go ahead and we add this little effect. And it should be easy enough to change this to reflect whether it's for a player or for a monster. Let's see here. So this just becomes entity get pause, very easy. And then we apply iframes, also very easy. We do have some variables here, so we're gonna flip them out for the monsters variables. So essentially what we do is we remove these underscore f's and we use a new macro that is called config underscore f, all caps, like so. And then we go to the end and voila, that will use the correct config parameter based on the type of the entity provided for this Lambda function. Just to feel in love with coding again. Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you get a little break and get to enjoy coding. As it's meant to be. I think coding is meant to be enjoyed. It's a very fun activity. I think there's more to it than just pursuing it for monetary reasons. Okay, so then we have this state. It's called Deadly Dash, and presumably we have some state variables, and after these variables expire, it will cause the Deadly Dash to go off. So on top of the Deadly Dash occurring, I believe it also affects how it's rendered. So we're gonna have to look at that. So I guess we'll start from the player side, because I know the player, like, has a little blink. So we have this thing called Shine Effect, and I think this is just like a generic, like, pop-up effect. It interpolates between alpha, which is very interesting. Let's go ahead and take a look at what shine.png is. So if we go under assets and we go to shine, ooh, it's kind of pretty. It looks like I used one of GIMP's like little lighting effect things for this one, because I recognize this like little flare like looking image. But yeah, essentially it's just a little, it just makes a little image on screen, and it looks like it fades out or in. Either way, it looks like it does something like that. It also looks like it's not updated. So a little while back, actually, this is very recent. I think I did this one off stream. There was an issue I had, I think it was like a month ago, where I was accidentally adding effects when I meant to add like, these are all like child classes of effect. And so if you have a variant and you do that, the variant will try to match to the most descriptive class it can, right? So let's say, for example, like, this is basically what happened. I didn't have this like ground slam effect in here, and I said add in a ground slam effect. And because ground slam effect inherits from the effect class, what this variant did was, it's like, okay, well, I can specialize to an effect, but I cannot specialize to a ground slam effect because it's not a type within the variant. So because of that, we have some invisible, I think it's called like inheritance slicing. I think it's called like object slicing, that's what it's called. So we had some invisible object slicing going on due to how inheritance works, where basically these were being downgraded to these when they were stored in the map, and thus all the unique properties of a ground slam effect were lost, and then it wouldn't behave correctly, naturally. So because of that, I realized that's not, like, I don't like how I don't have a compile time error handling for that. So what I did was, none of these inherit from effect anymore. They now inherit from this class called iEffect. And I just used I because it's essentially an interface, although it doesn't have any abstract classes. It's essentially everything that effect once was, so that I wouldn't have to rewrite any code. And then you can even see effect is now just a kind of like a, I don't know what you would call this. It's like, it's just, it's an I effect, but it belongs in the variant. So now, if I inherit from effect, it would be by accident, because I even made the virtual functions final, saying you cannot inherit from this. So because of that, we no longer have that issue. If everything inherits from iEffect, and iEffect is not in this variant pool, if the compiler tries to compile everything, and it finds out that this iEffect doesn't exist, then, or it finds out an iEffect is being stored in the variant, then it will throw out a compile time error. And I actually think that's where I left off. Like, I think there were some, like, compiler errors that I left off with this effect thing. So anyways, you can see this happening here, so I just have to update the implementation of it to reflect that new system. So this is something I did like a little while back. It was just a little project, and I think it's one of the issues in here actually. So we might have, I guess, yeah, right here. Create an interface effect so derived classes don't reference a type in effect T. So now that I've done that, I guess I need to finish this issue because that's where I left off. So yeah, I guess that's where I was last working before other stuff came up for the week. Okay, great. So let me just hit build and let's see where we're at. Although I don't think right now Thief compiles either, so I need to get that kind of in a steady state. So let's go to Thief real quick. Yeah, I guess what I'll do is I'll put this back for now, and it won't really impact the behavior of it, and then we'll come back to this once we got the first problem solved. So we're gonna try to compile our project and see where we're at. Yeah, so I hope everybody's doing well. Happy Monday. I know last Monday, when the last time I streamed, I said I was going to actually work on the project some more, but unfortunately I got busy with other things, so that didn't really happen. Just been a busy week, and there will be a few more days this week, I already know, coming up that I'm not going to be available. So I'm not going to get to work on this project as much as I would like to, but that's okay. We'll still try to work at least on a couple of these things. Yeah, just making some progress with code. That's kind of how these projects go, right? Our own personal projects. They don't really have a deadline, but I would really like to try and push them as far as I can. So yeah, just waiting for the full compile. It takes about 4 minutes for our project. Which is fine. We're just used to it at this point. That's just how it's gonna be. Welcome to C++. Okay, so now we get... And this is what I wanted to demonstrate. When we see this, it's saying there's no possible construction for this variant. And the reason for that is because we have something that's still inheriting, or that's now inheriting from iEffect, but iEffect is not part of the variant. So we can see in here, lingering effect is trying to be compiled, and it doesn't work. So we go into item script here. I don't know why you're over there. Please go over here. Okay, so here's lingering effect, and it's not like we changed any of the arguments for it, so it's not like that should be broken or anything, but there is a lambda function it includes, and now the constructor is different because iEffects exists. So we can find out what the new constructor is. Basically, the way lingering effect works is it accepts... Hold on, I have to go find it first. Alright, so lingering effect accepts a lambda function for... It's basically like an emitter. So it spawns more effects based on a lambda. So you can see here the new lambda, the self is actually an iEffect, because that's what everything inherits from. And then it returns an effect, a generic effect. So we have to update the lambda function to allow for that. So that's easy enough. Self is now an iEffect. And that should now compile. But that's what I mean, like having compile time errors is a lot more useful. So we can see here, freeze ground, effect is not a base or member. So once again, we're getting errors on compile time, seeing now like, yeah, like all this stuff is disagreeing with what we say now. So we just have to update all these to reflect that. So we're just gonna keep going. And it's also going to reveal anything like, see here, iEffect no appropriate default constructor available. It's going to do the same thing. So yeah, because we didn't include a default constructor with iEffect. It just all rolls down. So yeah. Okay, add effect, no matching overload function found for poison bottle. Okay. So in here, let's see. So once again, self is now an iEffect. Pulsating fire looks like also has issues. Yeah. We just have to go through everything. Like, I don't do a find and replace because I'm very scared to adjust. Like, because of effect, there's a lot of effect. And there's a lot of places that iEffect needs to exist. So find and replace is not very useful in this situation. So once again, iEffect for the default constructor. And then we have effect update. A call of a non-static member function requires an object for ground slam effect. Okay. Forgot to change that to iEffect. Because they don't inherit from effect, so that's it's an illegal call. Ink. Same thing. This should be iEffect. Stop writing such sloppy code. Can you finally adopt a specific coding style? So the funny part is, this is my coding style. Like, I understand there are cleaner coding styles, but this is my coding style. This is the coding style that's readable for me. So I program my project in it. And I'm the only programmer on this project, so it's not like I have to make it readable for others. Of course, I'm streaming it, and sometimes people are like, it would be nice if, like, it was readable to others, but at the same time, like, I'm very comfortable coding in this way, so that's what I choose to use. Call of a non-static memory function requires an object. Yeah, I just have to keep going. There's a lot. Rock launch. Okay, same thing. There's just so many effects in this game. It looks like it's getting less, though. There's less stuff remaining. Spell circle, sword slash, trail effect. You don't have to do this now, but in the future you might make it public for others to contribute to it. Well, the intention is not for it to be, like, public in the sense that others can use it, but it's more like public for study. Like, it is actually, the repo is public right now. It's viewable, but at the same time, like, this engine is not for other people to use. If that was, like, the purpose, it, like, that's a whole different design philosophy, right? I think making the game, should be... If I'm making the game, I would like the coding convention to be as comfortable for me as possible, so that in the future when I review it, it looks the way I would expect it to. But, I understand that, like, there are coding conventions out there that are, like, standard or more adopted, that people like to follow. And that's fine and all, and it's not like it's hard to follow it, but it's just the coding style I kind of built. I didn't really look at any coding style guides when I started writing C++, and I didn't really care to, because I'm like, whatever I need to write, I'm going to write it in a way that makes the most sense to me and is most convenient. There's already a lot of, like, syntactic sugar thrown everywhere in this project. So even if I were to follow conventions, there's still a lot of, like, ambiguity when it comes to to understanding how this project works. And so I think it's kind of a fool's errand to go for that now. At least at this point in the project, considering how far along it's developed. I have gotten a lot of comments about that, though. Like, some folks really disagree with my coding style, and that's okay. Like, it's not for you. So as long as it works for me, I think that's the most important part, because I'm the one that needs to maintain it and write it. Start using well, that's the thing. That's my style. Like, I don't press the spacebar, right? And I think my indentation is fine. Like, I think indentation-wise, this is pretty standard. This doesn't really, like, yes, I do, like, throw single statement lines, like, next to each other sometimes. Like, for if statements, like, I will commonly do this, right? But then I also have my own conventions. So, like, to me, this actually breaks my rule. Like, if I have a multi-line line, then even though it's one command or one call, I still treat it as multiple calls. So in my head, I have my own picture of, like, this is how I'm going to code this project. Like, am I doing this for your sake? Is that what you're trying to say? Like, I should do it for you? I apologize if I'm sounding pretentious here, but this is my project, so I'm going to have to work on it in a way that's most comfortable for me. So it says it literally cannot find update bomb boom. I'm a little confused here, because why does Arrow need that? Unresolved external symbol bomb boom update. Why are we trying to call that from here is the question. Like, I don't think there's a reference to bomb boom anywhere in here, which is weird. maybe it's just saying that in general. So I'm gonna go to maybe bullet types. And let me go to, let's just look at bomb boom. Well, effects, excuse me. Let me look at effects and let's just see what is here. Okay, so here's bomb boom. Maybe like the header doesn't exist or something. Like, did I not transfer it over correctly? So a lot of functions used to be like inlined, and I started not inlining them. So it's possible I like messed this up or didn't include it or something. So it is over here. It's a CPP file. And I mean, it's as clear cut as it could be. I think. It'd be better for the viewers. I did say that. I do agree with that. Like, for the sake of viewers, right? It's just, I've basically been coding like this for the entirety of the project now, so changing that now would be a fool's errand. Well, I guess not. I guess I could just hit auto format on every document, but then I would have to configure it and all that, and then I would have to actually do it, which I probably wouldn't do automatically, and then I'm sure there's a way to like make it so when you save it like auto formats and stuff. I'm just uncomfortable with the idea of, you know, using so much white space. I'm like, when I can have everything on screen tightly packed, like I can see more, and that's what I like about not using spaces. It's like one of the advantages of not using spaces. You can just see more code, objectively speaking. Of course, I could zoom out, but then it'll be too tiny. Yeah, I don't use any auto formatting. I type out every like space or indent is intentional. I think it will auto tab though. I think that's like the most basic thing I do. Okay, well, I don't know why we're complaining about an unresolved external symbol here. This is interesting. Both arrow and bomb. And it's a linker error, which is even more strange. Do I not have an include somewhere? Like, so effect types includes bomb boom. Does... Yeah, I don't see what the issue would be here. Unless this constructor is just completely wrong. Which I don't think it is. The constructor looks correct, so I'm not entirely sure why we're having trouble here. And then this doesn't even make sense. Like, why am I even doing this? If it's just gonna call the parent class's update. I'm also gonna put override here. That's just safer. But, I don't know. I'm a little confused. The includes here are bullet types, effect. Like, I wonder if it's an include issue. Anyways, we're rebuilding now. I don't know what I changed other than writing override in that header file. I don't think I changed. I'm pretty sure the same error will occur. I'm just trying to think what comes of it. Because, like, there shouldn't be any, like, recursive headers or anything. I can't imagine. And I think we need both of these. Why do we need effect, actually? We have add buff. Do we have add effect somewhere in here? Add effect? Oh, we do. Okay. Well, these are fine. Yeah, I don't see anything else that would cause issues then. Also, they don't require... Well... We'll see what compiler says. Maybe it'll say something different. No, it's the same thing. There's also this down here. This says, effect manager, effect data. For Stone Golem, is that saying it's missing Stone Golem? Is that true? Okay, it is true. So Stone Golem is not in this list. So that's a good catch. And then we go here. Stone Golem is an undeclared identifier. Because it needs to be included. This is why, like, anything that was inlined before needs to be fixed. Because now they can't be inlined. Otherwise, there will be circular header references. So, this was probably in here somewhere. I don't see it. Stone golem. Oh. CPP. Oh, this is the boss. Wait. I'm confused. That's not an effect class. Hold on. Yeah, I'm very confused. Something is wrong. I'm like, this is a boss. That's not a... I mean, unless we meant large stone. And actually, I don't see large stone in there. So that might be what it meant. Yeah, I'm not seeing that in here. So that's probably what we have to add. Large stone is... Where are you defined? Are you an effect type? Large stone. Oh, it's a bullet. Okay. No, that's fair. So that's not an effect either. It's kind of weird. Like, I have effects in my game, and then I have bullets. And sometimes I use one when I think I meant the other, and vice versa. Maybe that's what happened with Bomb Boom, although I think this is an effect. Like, actually. I hope so. I'm just gonna search the entire project. So yeah, we do call add effect in Bomb for... Wait. But Bomb is... Okay, maybe this was the issue. So Bomb is a bullet that creates a Bomb Boom effect, which then means we have to include... Does it just not know what that is? I guess it doesn't, right? Like, it's trying to... It just doesn't... Yeah, like, the linker doesn't have the setup right. So that makes me think... I mean, it's in here, so it's in the variant. Oh, you know what? I think every effect now has to have... Because I made everything inherit I effect, everything I think has to have both a draw and an update function now. Let me see. Is that true? So virtual draw, virtual update. If they don't have it, it should call the... No, that's not true. They're not like... It's not abstract, so you can leave it out and it should be fine. Hi there, Demon5. Welcome. We're just trying to figure out why Linker doesn't like what we're doing right now. And it's kind of a strange one. So, I think effect just is inherited from this naturally, so it's not like that's the issue. So if I remove this line, in theory, it's not going to be looking for that constructor anymore? Like, that would make sense, right? Let's see. So yeah, that lookup does go away, which kind of makes sense. It's just strange to me that Bomb Boom... Did I, like, not... Are we not compiling it or something? Is that what happened? So I don't see it here. Is it in effects? So it is here. Like, does it just not want to compile this? It's not excluded from the build. So that shouldn't be the issue. I'm just gonna try, like... Also, why is this in here? That's kind of weird, right? Effect.h? Why are you in here? I'm so confused. I'm gonna put you up here, I guess. So, just for fun, I'm going to rename this file. It shouldn't affect anything because the compiler should be trying to compile that file instead. It's just strange. So interestingly enough, changing that file name does not have it recompile it. So it's like it's ignoring that file. Like it doesn't exist. Well, the file has to exist because I'm looking at it, but it's like it doesn't want to compile it. That means like nothing needs this file. Like, here's effect types. And in effect types, we have a Bomb Boom class. And then anything that needs the Bomb Boom class should be requesting that to be compiled. Like, that's in theory how this works. Should I just delete it and remake this file? Like, I don't know if, like, this is bugged or something. Maybe I should restart Visual Studio. I don't know. This is bizarre. I'm gonna first just recreate the file and see if that, like, does anything. Because I'm like, why are you not compiling this file? The definitions are in here. You need this file. I promise, you need this file. Okay. It's being built now. So was it bugged this whole time? Is Visual Studio okay? MSVC? Okay, we're down to one linker error. I guess that's good, but I have no idea why. Okay, anyway, so... This one, can we stop making these pop up? Stone Golem wants a... God, this is so ridiculous to read. This, like... What do you call this? Like, this mangled... This mangled symbol? Oh my god. Hi there, Quizmasters. Welcome. I just literally can't find some effect data call in Stone Golem. So let's go look at Stone Golem. Something is trying to create an effect here that doesn't exist. So looking at my add effect calls, we have Spell Circle. Is there a Spell Circle here? There is. Okay. We also have this Expanding Ring effect being called, which is also in that variant list. And we have a Rock Launch effect, and that is also in the variant list. So every single one of these does have it stuff in here. Now I just need to look. Are all of these defined? Like, is the constructor in its own rocklaunch.cpp file? It is. It should be. I say should be. Update. Okay. So it includes effect, which effect does include effect types. So now going back to this error list, are one of these like not registering? It just says effect data is the unresolved symbol, like the constructor, which is very strange. Okay, well, I guess if we look at all these, do they all include effect.h? They should. The other one was, I think, black hole? Expanding ring. Right here. And that file is right here. So this includes effect types. I wonder if that's the issue. Like, because effect.h... So this is interesting. Effect.h includes the variant, right? Like effect t. So it was saying it couldn't find the constructor for effect t, which is well defined in here. So maybe that's the issue. By only including effect types, it's saying that, okay, the expanding ring effect is in here, but not the effect types, which means whatever was including... But this is a CPP file. So, in Stone Golem, we include Adventures in Listoria, which then includes effect.h. So this shouldn't really be an issue. Like, I don't understand why we are getting any linker error at all. That's so confusing. I mean, I can just, like, do the same thing. I could delete... I don't really want to do that. Effect data. Like, let me just try that. Let me just... Back up. Let me just try changing that include and see what it does. Same issue. Like, the only reason the effect data class would not be visible is if, like, something I updated here, like, because I made them not inlined anymore. Made them their own CVP files. Somehow, the compiler doesn't pick that up. And it leads to, I guess, this, and now... I'm not sure, because, like, This is a little suspicious to me. Why can't IntelliSense find this? Why is it having a hard time finding this? I don't know. It's suspicious. I could try restarting Visual Studio just to be safe. See what happens. We could try like a clean. Maybe like... It feels like there's like compiler shenanigans going on here, and I don't like it. So we could just try a full rebuild and see what happens. It sucks, but maybe that's what is required. I don't know. Like, it feels like this to me is like it's not picking up some CPP files for whatever reason. It's just very bizarre. And I haven't had this happen in a long time. This is a very rare, like, occurrence. But compilers are very complex pieces of software, and Visual Studio is a very complex piece of software, so who knows what kind of, like, rabbit hole I've gone down. And it could be user error, too. It could be me. Like, I'm just trying to think. Like, I'm looking at the code. I'm like, there's nothing obvious where I've, like, messed up the includes or anything. It's also very intuitive. Like, everything inherits from iEffect. Every effect is stored inside a variant. Here, we double-checked it. So it's not like this isn't defined. It said effect T, like this, wherever this is. So this is interesting. I didn't think about this, but the effect T itself, which is defined in effect types, I think. Or is it here? Where's effect T? Effect T. Effect types, effect T. Yeah, I want to look at this class real quick. If we can. Anyways, it's linking right now, so we'll see what happens. So it succeeded, so... What the fuck? Okay. Anyway. There we go. I guess we're done with that. I mean, game runs, so I think we're good. I can run unit tests to make sure nothing crashes, but this is just like one of those stupid things where it's like, okay, I guess, right? Like, yeah, all the effects are there. I'm happy, I guess. I don't know. I don't know, man. Okay. How silly. Alright. Yeah, let's just try real quick. Just to see if anything weird occurred. Because this is a pretty, like, significant refactor. So, I'm gonna go ahead and build the unit testing build now. And we're just gonna see, make sure it runs. It'll be pretty quick nowadays, since every test only takes about half a second. So it'll take less than 2 minutes to run the unit test now. Whereas before, it took like 10 minutes, which was absolutely insane. Nowadays, it's so much better. And if this is good, we'll go ahead and commit it. We'll close this issue, and we'll be on our merry way. But yeah, I just wanted to get this done. This was like this was a task that's been a long time coming. I'm just like, I need to get to this eventually. It just prevents bugs. It apparently makes bugs in the compiler. But I think what happened was I was probably like... So Visual Studio does this thing on my computer where after running it for like maybe a couple days, it just runs out of memory and dies. And I think maybe that corrupts some things and could mess with like all the files I've been adding. And so eventually it might like lose track of which source files I'm adding, or it just, yeah, like if clean recompile is the solution to the problem, then that just tells me that something bad happened due to the program misbehaving. And usually you start getting undefined and weird behaviors when programs run out of memory, so this would make sense. And I typically leave my computers on, so it's not like I shut it off and restart it every day. So this wasn't like fresh. This has been here for like a week. Maybe 2 weeks. No, it crashed before 2 weeks. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and run these now and just make sure they all pass. And hopefully they do, right? That would be ideal. So, just make sure they all work, and then I'll go ahead and start writing the commit message. Yeah, you can see it's a pretty significant change. It changes all the effect classes to iEffect, as we expect. Okay, so changed child class from effect to new iEffect class. Remove child iEffect class from variant structure. That way it can't be included. And this resolves issue number 133. And finally, this is... Where's my executable? Oh, it's down here. Okay. It's just like... It's like it keeps scrolling back up because I think the Test Explorer is constantly updating. Here. I'll just pull up version.h in here. This is release build 13940. Release build 13940. Okay. I have this problem a lot in Visual Studio. Really? A lot, huh? It's only happened to me like at least 5 or 6 times. Like, I can count them on my hands how many times it's broken. But when it does, it's really annoying because you're sitting there like, I didn't do anything wrong. What the heck, man? Why you gotta do this to me? Okay. Anyways, we're halfway done, so I'm just gonna like keep going. Yeah. So far, so good. If anything was gonna be wrong with effect tests, it would be in these player tests. Or it would have been in the enchant tests, because that's where most of the effects get used, so... Yeah, it looks like everything's gonna be okay. And it should. I mean, I didn't expect a refactor of a class internally to break the game, so... But that's why we have unit tests, just to make sure, right? So, after this, we're back to working on thief stuff. Let's see if we can pick up where we left off. I'm gonna close a bunch of tabs, though, because there's way too many. Okay. So, back to the Deadly Dash. So we need to make 2 state variables, and we wanted to figure out if these state variables influence the graphic of the player at all, to see if we have to modify the monster graphically as well when we did this effect. So, inside Adventures in Listoria.cpp, where the player gets rendered, there is no mention of that variable. So I'm guessing it all happens inside the Deadly Dash state. So if we go to player.cpp, and we go to the Deadly Dash state, yeah, this is where all the fancy stuff happens. So it looks like whether or not to use additive blending gets adjusted, which is interesting. It makes a bullet. So the Deadly Dash bullet is like, it draws a bunch of circles in like a line to make it look like it's like a dash attack. But no, it just does animation additive blending, and that's it. I was expecting a lot more, to be honest. That's kind of weird. But maybe this is what's used? Like, there's gotta be something that affects the rendering with this. Because it's like... Because I know the player blinks during this. Like, maybe it's the buff. Does the player get a buff? Buff, 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 buff. I don't think so. Does the player get a buff? Okay, what stops the player from moving? Oh, it's just saying the state. And... yeah, this is weird. Let me look for anything related to Deadly Dash in here. Deadly? Yeah, nothing. Which is strange. I expected something rendering-wise to occur here, but I guess it's just setting additive blending and that's it. Oh, I see. We turn additive blending on and off every 1/20th of a second. Okay, that's what we're doing. So it's not even a blink, it's just additive blending. Okay. Huh, I did not expect that's how that effect worked. Okay. So that's fascinating. So I have to add that functionality then. Because we don't have a way to set additive blending for... So the additive blending flag does... Rendered sprite uses additive blending. Okay. That's not in here either. Which is like, what? What is going on? What? Maybe we called this getter? There we go. Okay, so we basically have to do this in the monster function to get the same result. Okay, well, that makes sense. Also, how do we know it's supposed to be normal decal mode? What if I wanted a different decal mode? Anyway, I think we just made that assumption pretty safely. Like, we're expected to be in normal drawing mode, otherwise, like, everything's gonna look funny. But I just noticed that's a little... That's an interesting way to do it. So, I guess when we call draw base monster, draw overlay monster, draw mountain monster, this all happens in a stack, so we can go right here. This theoretical is using additive blending function. We'll go ahead and set the decal mode for the engine. And then presumably we reset it afterward. Like, we don't want it to stay this way. So, go back afterward. And we just have to implement this, which requires another state variable for monster. So let's do that. Why don't we just connect it directly to the deadly dash variable? I'm trying to think. Like, does anything else use that? I guess not. Like, if we can reduce the number of variables in our class, why not, right? But let's go back here. Alright, every test passed, so I'm confident to say the game is pretty functional. I'll go ahead and commit all those. Send that on its way, make sure mscriptin and Linux build works, right? It will do that on its own. And then we can close this. Yay! So yeah, it's now doing my runner, so I'll let that be. Alright. So what I was thinking was we could either tie it to the deadly dash state, right? If we do that, we say if state is deadly dash, then use additive blending. Like, that would be the easiest way to do it. I don't think there's anything else using it, so why not? So get state is equal to deadly dash. We'll do that. Really easy. At least I think it's really easy. A const monster. This is not const. Hello? This should be const. It doesn't modify anything. Okay. Fix that one. Okay. So we will set the state to deadly dash for both monster and player, which is fine. It will do that. We'll make monster variable attributes for this instead of making brand new variables in the class structure itself. So this will become part of an if player block, because it's going to be player specific code. Let me say end if, and that turns into a reference instead of a pointer. This we will apply to both, and then we have to implement these as attributes inside of monster attribute. So this literally lets us add like custom variables to monsters without having to load up the class. So it'll just store these in a map, and these keys map to standard any's. So they're very flexible. So this is deadly dash wait timer. Let's go deadly underscore dash wait timer. And then we'll go deadly dash after dash timer. So we'll need those two variables for the monster. So if monster, then we're gonna go ahead and set these. I guess these are float attributes. So m.f capital A. Replace those with the deadly dash wait timer. And for this bottom one, it's deadly dash after dash timer. And then we have to change these to represent the config macros instead, or use the config macros, I meant. Config underscore F. I missed one. We're not gonna zoom out the world if the monster uses it, because that just doesn't make any sense. And the sound effect will not be centered. It will actually be based on the position of the user. I don't know why it plays two sounds. That is kind of weird. I wonder why we do that. Like, I know it's like... because it's like a click sound, so it goes like click right when you use it, and this is like a... it's kind of like a warble. It's like a... I don't know why we play both. I guess I just wanted both to play. I guess that's not really unreasonable, I guess. I'm just gonna put them together. Alright, so... everything else looks okay. This effect does not have a friendly attribute, I don't think. That is just additive blending. Okay. So now we gotta implement the timers. So we're gonna go over to the player state for Deadly Dash. And we're basically gonna mimic it, but for the monster. So for the monster, let's make a... so in the source code... see, this is where it gets confusing. Because what I've been doing is I've been taking all these skill-specific like states and storing them as phases inside of monster. I think I should stick with that then. It makes it less portable in the sense of I can't just reuse the code without copy-pasting these phases into another monster, but it reduces a lot of bloat inside the monster class, which, as we can see, is already massive. This thing is almost 2,000 lines, so I think I prefer this paradigm instead, where these behaviors are localized to the monster that actually uses them, because we already know, like, the game's fully designed. No other monster is going to use this. I'm never going to need it anywhere else. So, because of that, this actually makes more sense. So, instead of setting the phase of the monster, we're just going to set the phase for a player, and instead set the phase for a monster. We just have to set up an enum for the warrior thief monster that represents that phase. We'll call it Deadly Dash. And in this phase, we'll do our thing. And then what we also need to do is we need to initialize a variable that will store the value of Deadly Dash in a monster attribute. Because what we need to do in here, because it's not connected to the monster itself, like this is just a generic monster, is we have to pull that value and see and actually set that phase. So it's going to look like this. We've done this already a bunch before, so that's why we already know to do this again. And then we just call the attribute something like Deadly Dash State Enum Slot. And then we will store a value that represents that state inside here locally. Because it's an enum and it's represented with an integer, it can be any number. And maybe at some point I decide that I wanted to change what that number represented. Like, I could literally just do this, and now the code will still work because the number isn't hard-coded. So that's why we do this. Just to make sure that nothing can go possibly wrong by rearranging the parameters. That's like one of the dangers of enums, right? And of course we could hard-code the values here, but what if I don't like those numbers? Then I'm going to have to change them. Like, I don't know. This is just easier. Like, less typing. Anyway, back over here, or here, the attribute is going to be Deadly Dash State Enum Slot. Please recognize. There you go. And yeah, we have to do m dot. It's going to be an integer, and we have to also define it in here. I don't think do we define as integer? Oh, we define as, well, it is an integer in theory. Why doesn't that work then? The we have to include the strategy name. So get current strategy. Get strategy name. There it is. I always forget that parameter. Okay. Why am I building? I accidentally hit that? Okay. So, finally, let's actually implement the Deadly Dash phase functionality. So like I said, we're basically going to mirror this, but for the monster. And we're going to change some things. So instead of Deadly Dash wait timer, we're going to use that attribute. So it's Deadly Dash wait timer. Okay. Can't autofill on multi-select. Then Deadly Dash additive blending toggle timer, which isn't actually a thing right now, is it? We just have after dash timer. So how does this work? Like, can we say that additive blending will be turned on and off based on this variable? Oh. Wait, then we run into the problem with the rendering, don't we? Because, like, we're in that... Well, we said if it were in that phase, which is also not right. So we say get phase is equal to state whatever. What do we change that to? Get state. Get state was equal to Deadly Dash. So yeah, this doesn't work unless we actually implement that variable. It's like, I guess we would say get phase, but then yeah, that doesn't work. Not unless I actually set the phase. So it would be like, while we're in the Deadly Dash state phase, we could set the Deadly Dash state. Like, we can connect the two. I guess that would be okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So set state. I actually like that because we want to stop the monster from, like, doing anything else. That's really what we're trying to do here. So setting the state to Deadly Dash, and then when this finishes, we just set it back to whatever state we were before. Like, we could set it back to normal state. So I'm just trying to think, will we run into bugs if we do that? Because I'm imagining, like, what if we kill the monster? So there's a dead state, right? Like, the monster dies. And if we hit that state, then who's to say, well, if a monster dies, then this will stop running. So in theory, we won't run into that issue. We will never enter here unless we are in... Well, that's not necessarily true. This is like... I think this is the wrong approach. So I'm going to back up for a second. And let's just say, yeah, let's just say if phase matches. The phase for strategy name, Warrior Thief has to be equal to whatever the Deadly Dash state enum slot is. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily work for other monsters. So we have to say, like, if... So this is where I'm like, we should just implement a state variable internally for this, because, like, this is getting way too complicated, right? That would make the most sense here. So I think what we'll do is Deadly Dash wait timer. I like this a lot more. So just like the player, we can just add a member called Deadly Dash wait timer, which is just gonna be a float that does everything it's supposed to do. And we go from there. Okay. I like this more. I think I like this a lot more. And then down here, we'll just make it a private member. So this is a float Deadly Dash wait timer. And basically, when it's non-zero, it means we're in the middle of a Deadly Dash. And then, in terms of the additive blending, we can just do a modulus at 0.05. It looks like the 0.05 is hard-coded. So I might as well just do that, and that will take care of that. Like, I don't need another variable to determine if we're using additive blending or not. So I think that's fine. I like that a lot better. So we're gonna go in here and we're gonna say if deadly dash wait timer, which means it's non-zero, then we're going to set the decal mode to additive. Basically gonna do modulus on this. So do a fmod. I think that's a thing. And the value should be 0.05. Well, if we want it like on and off, it's gonna be a toggle, right? Like half of the time is on, half of it is off. So if it's less than 0.05, it should be additive. Otherwise, it will be normal blending. Like so. So something like this. Yeah. And this is gonna increment or decrement, I guess either way. I think it decrements. Yeah. It's just gonna decrement. Oh, apparently it gets set to infinity eventually when it times out, which, okay. If that's gonna be default state, let me code that in. Infinity. So if deadly dash timer is not equal to infinity, it means we have a value. But if we're gonna do that, why don't we just make it an optional? Because, like, I really don't like them just using some arbitrary value to represent it's in an invalid state. Like, I really don't like that. So we're gonna do that instead. Do you not like this, IntelliSense? Oh, it's just being slow. So we're gonna make it an optional, and then when there's no value in it, naturally we're not doing a deadly dash. So now that this is an optional, we have to change these. We have to, like, dereference them. And I think the member access resolves first. I'm like 90% sure. But let's be 100% sure. C++ operator precedence says... So here's member access, number 2. And then we're trying to use dereference. Okay. Dereference is right here, number 3. Which means dereference happens after member access. Which is what we want. So that's correct. And then all these happen way down there. Like, we know assignment and comparisons are way down here. So here's assignment, and here's comparison. So this is correct order of operations. Same with this one. Now, we need to make sure it's defined by this point, so the game will break if this is not properly set. So I don't know if we want to handle that here. We're supposed to handle it here. I guess that's fine. We're essentially doing the same thing. So set the phase. Like, these two are tied together. I wish I could make them more tied together, but I really can't with the way I have this set up. So we're just gonna go like this. Oh, this might be private. Yeah, so it's inaccessible. So we have two options. We either make another phase that just acts as a transition phase to the deadly dash, where we assign deadly dash wait timer, or we go ahead and assign it here and make this a public member. I'm okay with making a public member. That's not really a fatal issue in my eyes, so I think we'll go that route. So this is now public. We go back over here, and we're gonna say deadly dash wait timer is now equal to this config value, which means it now exists from this point onward. And then eventually this thing's gonna expire, so then we empty it out. So back in here, excuse me, in here for Warrior and Thief, when this is done, or no, when this is done, we're going to empty it. So we're gonna say deadly dash wait timer is now equal to an empty object, which is an optional. So an empty optional. I think you can also call reset. Like, we can just do .reset, I think. Yeah. If we reset it, it'll empty it too. Same. Assign via copy or assign via reset. And then down here, deadly dash after dash timer. So this one's the one we're going to use the attribute for. So at the same time, we need to decrement that one too. So we're going to say m.f for attribute deadly dash after dash timer is going to be decremented by felapse time. Then we're gonna put that in here. When that hits 0 or less, we're gonna do all this stuff. So the aiming location is actually gonna be the player's position. So we can assign that right here. Game, get player, get pause. And again, we're gonna probably have to do some like difficulty tweaking after a while. Like, I think it's unfair for like the monster to be like pixel perfect on the player, like perfect aim. So a lot of this is gonna need tweaking once we actually get to the gameplay portion of this. For now, we're just making it functional. And then we're gonna have to work on actually tuning the AI. So here, clamped mouse polar direction, we're trying to point to that same location. We can actually do this without this anymore. Clamped mouse polar, it looks like it clamps it by distance, which we don't really need to do here because it's only going to be used within a certain range of the player, of the monster. Yeah, like, when we design the AI, like, right now we're just making all the abilities, but eventually we have to go back and say, okay, how does the AI actually utilize these abilities? Like, what's the range that you have to be in to use them and such? And that's when we will code that part. So we don't have to clamp them here because we trust that we're going to provide a distance that makes sense here. So, let's see. Then afterwards, we do some calculations. That's fine. This is a member variable? Is that right? I guess it is. We'll make another attribute for that. Just the aiming position, I guess you could call it. Because, like, basically the way Deadly Dash works is, like, you choose a position, and that position is, like, locked in. And then once you do the dash, you can't, well, no, that's not true. The position you choose is locked in at the very end when the dash actually occurs. So why do we need this value if it's gonna be the same as this value? Like, does that really make sense? I guess it's just, oh, I see, it's clamping to give a final position based on a clamped distance. So in our case, we would just go straight end to end, so we wouldn't need this. So wherever we use it, we're just going to replace with this directly. So we don't need this variable. We can get rid of it. I don't know what original pause is for yet, because that doesn't really change either. We just call get pause. I don't see why we have original pause. It's const as well. I feel like I wrote this poorly. Like, it just doesn't make sense to store them in... It almost looks like, in my head, thinking to past Amy, it looks to me like past Amy was going to do something with this variable and then didn't. That's what it looks like. So now it's just a variable that exists for no reason. Yeah. So we have move using pathfinding, which is interesting because this function does not exist for monsters. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. Because what this function does is if you choose a tile, you provide a position, the game will do A-star pathfinding to figure out if that's a valid position to teleport to. Because you don't want the player to teleport outside of the map. You can click an area that has no collision and then all of a sudden you're outside the map. That would be bad. So the game needs to figure out if the player can physically get there somehow. If they can, and it's within a certain distance, we're not gonna let you teleport onto the top of a cliff. That's that requires you to walk all the way around it. Maybe 400 tiles worth of walking. We're not gonna allow that. There's a limit. So yeah, it's can pathfind up to 12 tiles or something. We might just be able to use this function. I think this exists for monsters too. I want to say it does. No, monsters don't have this stuff. I know monsters, though, they use the run towards, AI, and the run towards AI literally does pathfinding to a location. Because, see, you have this, start pathfinding, it returns whether a path was found, and you can move towards that. So I guess we can use this. This essentially accomplishes the same thing, but for monsters. It's just called something different. So here's start pathfinding. And then solve walk path. The Pathfinder is an A-star like Pathfinder. And then it just figures out if you can walk to said place. It looks like this is a value for pathing time though, which is more interesting. We give this mob 5 seconds to figure out path to the target. That's interesting. So this doesn't quite do what I want. Instead, this actually tries and... this actually assumes a max range of 24. Which I don't know if that's a good thing. That might be a bad thing. Like, why is it hard-coded? I think that's really odd. But this is such old code. Like, we are now touching code from like 3 years ago. Which is kind of cool, right? So, yeah. I guess we'll just call start pathfinding with a default pathing time of 5, because it looks like that's a very typical value, or 4, and go from there. Let's try it. I think this will work for our case. So if we don't find a path, what happens? Do we just get stuck? Like, the way it works for players is like, it will move you as close as it can. Like, it's kind of like an iterative thing. You can see there's a while loop here. And the while loop reduces the distance in pixels by 4, trying to put you as far away as it can towards your desired location, but then closing in towards the where the character was before. So we could easily wrap this in a while loop and see what happens. Oh, speaking of which, start pathfinding needs a target position. Like, it's just like supposed to be included here. So I think, yeah, the target, we have to literally set the target before this even occurs. So if we set the target to be like, if we basically put in a while loop like this, then we will accomplish the same thing. So we can just say, okay, so the distance between the monster and the desired location, or the target position, which is currently going to be this. So I guess we need a variable to store that stuff. So we're going to say vf2d target pause, right? But we can even just call it target. Like, we have a target variable. Why don't we just set it and use it? So set target. It's going to be m.setTarget. Oh, there's no set target? Do I literally just use the member variable? I feel like that's very awkward. I don't think that's supposed to be the way we use this, but okay. I feel like that shouldn't be public, but okay. And then I would imagine a setter would be much nicer. So anyways, we're gonna say that's what the distance is. We actually have a util function for this now. So that's a little nicer. It's just called util distance. So I'm going to use that instead of this geometry function, because that's like I said, a lot of this code is very old. And then down here, we will start a while loop, and we'll just do the same thing we did for player, right? So we'll say while distance is greater than 0, which means we're trying to move somewhere further along than where we originally were. We're going to try moving. So that would be like, try to do all this. I assume we just early break or return if we don't find it, which makes sense. Otherwise we keep trying. Like, if it works, then we stop, right? We basically break out the loop. Otherwise we keep reducing it. So it looks like that was not... oh. You just... that there, this closes that, and... distance minus equals 4. I could also do this, but I would want the minus equals to resolve after the calculation's figured out, so I don't think we're going to do that. This is more clear what we're trying to do. So anyways, from here, we're going to try to find path. If we find a path, we do this stuff and we break. Oh wait, this is if we don't find a path. Let me switch that. So if path found, do all this, break, because we're done. Otherwise, we have to reduce distance and try again. If nothing was found, then we just do a deadly dash at the same target position we started at, which is, we basically don't move, so we don't do anything. So boop. And then after we're done with deadly dash, itself, this has been reset already. We just have to change our phase back to normal. So set phase to run. So with that, all we're left is the bulk of the dash itself. So now move using pathfinding. We have already determined that the path has been determined by this thing. So we just... See, if we found a path, we don't have to actually move using pathfinding. We just set the position, right? So we just say set pause, because we know we can reach that target position. Like so. Poof. It's essentially, it's an instant. That's all we need. And then there's no animation. We do create a bullet. So we will adjust all that in a second. We do need the Deadly Dash bullet included. So we need, like, I think it's bullet types. Include bullet types. Which should have Deadly Dash inside of it, I hope. And it does. So instead of original pause, it's just m.getPause. Oh, we need original pause here because we've moved at this point. So I use original pause compared to new position. So that's why we needed that. So we did need it after all. I guess I could have put it in here then. It's a lot less confusing if I do it right before I need it, right? Original pause was our current position. Right before we set it to something else. See? That's more local and it makes more sense what we're trying to accomplish there. And then we move, do this. We have to do a calculation based on our attack multiplier. Whether or not this is on the upper level. Animation. The animation itself, I guess we can just call get animation here. Because we do have that. It's not a name though. We have like... Oh shoot. The animation name itself? How about... It's just the... See, I'm trying to think what it would be. I guess it would be like the walk... See, I don't know what this is. I guess we need to figure out what this is first. While not bullet directly, the Deadly Dash class generates a bunch of after images. Oh. Okay. So generate after images from point to point based on a certain animation provided. So what animation? I guess we would use... We should use the current animation of the monster, but the current animation isn't a name, it's a frame sequence. Where's the name stored? It's gotta be stored somewhere, because otherwise it doesn't know which one to use. So let's look for animation members and see which one it is. So animation... Oh, there it is. It's stored in here. So we should be able to call animation.getName or something. There's like a name member for that. So animation dot... So maybe that's what get animation was. It literally just returned that. No. Animation. Current state name. It's kind of weird. I feel like there should be a better way to do that. It's a pointer? No, it's not. Is this a pointer? I'm confused. None of these should be a point. Oh wait, this is not a function. Okay. Here we go. And then we don't have to reset state. We don't have to set additive blending. We can do world shake, sure. That's fine. So I think at this point we have successfully implemented the Deadly Dash for the monsters. So now we're gonna try it. So I'm gonna go here. I'm just gonna say use thief ability 2. Let's go ahead and... Oh, not unit testing, please. Stop that. And then build, release build. And I think we're gonna be out of coding time after this. Redefinition, huh? Oh. I wonder what I was thinking there. Wait, do we still need this? Deadly Dash wait timer? We changed that, right? Yeah, we don't need it anymore. It's unused. I'm just gonna rebuild one more time. Yeah, we got rid of that. Okay, cool. So, once this is done building, that is another thief ability out of the way. So then we'll be left with Adrenaline Rush. And this one's pretty easy. Because all this does is add effect, basically buffs to, in this case, it'll be the monster. And we just have to add some damage amplification to the get attack functions. So this one will be super easy. And monsters don't have enchants, so you don't have to worry about, like, reducing the health of the monster or anything. So that's great. Just waiting for the build. But yeah. Today's been a good coding session. It's been pretty chill. Had a nice quick discussion about my coding style. It almost felt like I was being lectured, like, hey, write better for us. We want better looking code. You better do it. No overload function. Okay, so maybe it thinks it's like a... Oh, we have to dereference that. Oh, also it might not even exist, so we have to even check if it's, like, alive. So deadly dash wait timer has to exist, and has to not be equal... The value has to not be equal to infinity. But yeah. The fact that's an optional, we have to do some extra steps there. And then after that, we'll just try it out. It might be buggy. I hope it's not. It feels like we got all the pieces in place. If anything, the pathfinding might be wrong. That's the only part I'm concerned about. Is maybe the pathfinding code is messed up. Or like maybe that's not how we use the pathfinding or something. Oh, you know what we forgot to do though? We forgot to adjust the target when we reduce the distance. That's what we forgot to do. Reducing the distance doesn't do shit. Also, something happened. Gamepad init. Uh-oh. So this looks like a This looks like corrupted memory. Because, like, if we're here, it's like... There's nothing wrong with the gamepad library, I promise. That's fascinating. Something's corrupted. Ooh. I'm just trying to think what it could be. Like, this is like the game just like initializing, you know? This is like I'm just literally starting it up. Initialization. And then boom. So maybe it's this? But like, this should not have a value. Do you take notes when you forget something? No, not really. I guess my philosophy is everything that I write, I try to make it very, like... I try to make it very dummy-proof. And what I mean by that is, like, I need to write it in a way to where I will intuitively remember how to get back to that point. So, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, let's say I write something and then I'm like, oh, if I have to change it in this place, I have to go over to this file and change it in another location. That is very risky, right? Because now I'm gonna have to remember something. So the way to fix that is to remove one of the duplications and say, okay, if I change it in one file, it's now just gonna reference the other file on the other side. That's like dummy-proofing code so that myself as a programmer, because I don't trust 6 months down the line, Amy, to remember everything I've ever done and like every single piece of code that needs to be fixed. So this is interesting. I'm not sure what's happening here. I want to imagine it has to do with this, but I'm trying to think what else it could be. Like, what else did we change that could have affected... Like, I'm trying to think, it's got to be like something monster code related, because like we get to the intro screen and that spawns monsters, and those monsters, like, that's what I'm imagining right now. But interesting. I wonder if the unit test crashed. You know what? I'm curious. Let's just do a debug build real quick. I've got a little bit of time, so I need to sate my curiosity. I need to at least know what we have to tackle tomorrow. Because I'm like, if I can sleep on it, that would be nice. But if you're just talking about, like, let's say, like, I'm done for today, right? And it's like, oh, where did I leave off for tomorrow? If I don't commit something, because usually I'll just go straight to my commits and be like, okay, yesterday we were doing this, so naturally I'm continuing from here. Or I have a to-do file. And I'll just write whatever in here. So like, this is done actually. But like, I have a to-do file, right? So if I have to jot down something for later, it goes in here. And these are all things I either have to make into issues or just a minor observations while like working on the code from previous days. So yeah. Having a to-do file is a good idea. Or something similar, right? Okay. But let's see what happens with this debug build, because I'm very curious. The debug build will probably tell me more. Or if anything, we can try breakpointing in a couple places and seeing when it breaks. It's just strange that it's doing this now. It's like, I haven't changed anything critical to where like... like, if it's going to a null pointer, what did I null? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, this is fascinating. I'm not sure. Because, like, what would I have touched in here today that affects the title screen? And the only thing I can think of is any global monster code, which is really only these 2 lines. I don't think we touched anything else in there, really. As far as I'm aware. Yeah, these 2 lines. Setting the decal mode back to normal, which is fine. Making that function const, which is also fine. Like, this doesn't make sense. So let's see what debug build complains about, if anything. What? Oh, don't tell me it's like a compiler bug again. That's so confusing. Okay. Well, debug build runs, so maybe... You know what? It was probably when I stopped the compile and then I changed something and then recompiled. It probably had old symbols from the previous build, which does happen occasionally, and it sucks when it does that, because I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, since we're here, we might as well see what that Deadly Dash looks like. I just realized it also might not work correctly because I didn't change the variables. So I'm using player variables here, which I guess is fine for now. I also didn't change the friendly tag, so that should be non-friendly. It's a non-friendly dash, not a friendly dash. So that also means it's probably not going to hit the player, which I guess is fine. Also, does this have an on-hit for monsters? I would assume so. Deadly Dash. Okay, it looks like... Here's update. Oh, cool. Okay, so I do handle friendly and not friendly tagging. Okay. Smart. Good job, Amy. Unfortunately, it's not going to actually work because we compiled this with the friendly tag, but in theory it works. I just want to see what we are working with for tomorrow. So let's just walk over here, and let's just take a look. Oh, wonderful. Okay. What is this? Bad variant access. Okay. That... I could see myself doing that. So let's go... Where's my code, please? Entity to player. Player? Why are we trying to get a variant for a player? Oh. Oops. Okay. Well, I forgot I put that back there. That's my fault. Do this one more time. Adjust these real quick. So instead of the _F, which would reference player stuff, we're gonna put config config _ or I think it's just config float for these. Should be. Yes. Okay, good. So these are just config float, which will reference the variables from the monsters strategy file, which is exactly what we want. These are all floats, presumably. Maybe not the damage. I think the damage is supposed to be an int. Let me see. Oh, this is all new code, but if we look at the player's code for Deadly Dash, it should have been Yeah, even the damage was a float, which is a little surprising. I don't usually do the float for damage. So I'm gonna go over here to the thief variables, and I'm just gonna take... Looks like these guys are the main variables for it. I'm gonna put it inside the monster strategies file, so that the monster has these variables as well, even though we don't necessarily use all of them. And then just call them thief.ability2. Not whatever. So at least those variables are there for now. And then later we can tweak them and do what we need to do for those. Okay, try one more time. Hopefully we at least see the Deadly Dash execute, even if it might not be visually or functionally correct yet. So we'll see. Still debug mode, so it'll be a little slow. But we're already here, we're committed. And then that's gonna be it for today. It's been a good coding session though. Hope you all had fun. I had fun. And then, assuming everything goes well, tomorrow we'll be back for more. No, this is a little smaller than a Maple Story. This is an action-adventure role-playing game. Think like SNES era, like Secret of Mana. Kind of like that kind of style. Ooh. Okay, we got a little farther. Apparently we called on an empty optional though, which is strange. Where did we do that? Oh. That is a little strange. Why did it do this before setting it? So what it should have done... Set... So this is where it gets set. Then set the phase to Deadly Dash. So by this point... It should be valid. Like, it shouldn't be empty at this point. In theory. Unless I did something wrong. Like, if we breakpoint here, this should have occurred. Unless... Okay, hold on. Unless this ran out? Oh, if this runs out... I'm a little confused. Why? It's like this is separate from this. So why are we doing this still? Okay, so we do have to add a check if we're actually on this timer still. So they're like separate timers, and I guess I misunderstood this. So if the Deadly Dash wait timer is active, we're gonna subtract in. If it reaches 0, reset it. And that's just like the flash effect. So the flash effect is done when this occurs. And then what's left is the after dash timer, which we wait for. And when that occurs, that's when the actual dash finishes. Okay. So, a little bit of a misunderstanding there from reading my old code and trying to transfer it over. But yeah, this should mostly be good. I could probably combine some of these statements. Like, instead, I could do if Deadly Dash timer and Deadly Dash timer minus equals elapsed time is less than or equal to 0, do this. Because this is functionally the only thing that's happening in here. So I could combine those statements. Kind of like this. I think this works. And that will effectively... Well, this part has to go here. Wrapped in parentheses. Dereference. So we end up with something like this. And that would functionally be the same thing without as many lines. Okay. Okay, I don't know what happened, but the game kind of froze, so maybe it has to do with the pathfinding while loop or something? We did get an error log trying to get non-existent key idle_1. So that animation name we provided is invalid. I think we have to include like the monster name and stuff, so we're gonna have to work on that next time. There's like a specific way we have to handle the monster animation names, and I didn't do it correctly. So we'll go back and fix that tomorrow. That's not too bad, but we have to do a little digging into the animation system because there's like, they're all tagged a certain way. They'll have like the monster name and then an underscore followed by the state name. So it'll be like and then followed by like the direction. So say like monster underscore idle 1 underscore like west or something. And there's like a certain function that will parse all that together. But we'll have to figure that out tomorrow. Just things to think about. So for those of you that tuned in today, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.